Welcome to this next episode of the Sitcom Archive Deep Dive Overdrive, or SADDO for short. My name's Alison Barton-Simmons and I'm your co-host.
Now then, I'm Eggs Benedict, the other fella.
And we are here to take the deepest of dives through our favourite 70s sitcom, The Good Life. We're now up to Series 4, Episode 1, Life Away From It All. We've got here quick. I know I said that last week, but I feel like we're thundering through.
We are, yeah. And this, I hadn't realised, but I think the second and third series were both shown in the same year, weren't they?
Oh, right, okay.
So they were both shown in 76, and this series was shown in 77.
Right.
So it feels like there's no delineation between these series. I mean, this just picks up from the last one, doesn't it?
They're just a continuation, aren't they? Yeah, there's. I think that's probably one of the things that I like, that the continuity between all four series is there. And the place marker for me is Tom's powder blue jumper that just, it's there at the beginning, and I'm guessing it's going to be there right at the end of Series 4. But more about that jumper in a bit.
He's also got the green one with all the holes in.
Yeah, the powder blue one is the one that sticks in my mind, though. And I think it turns up in Fashion Corner today, so there's plenty more to talk about the powder blue threadbare jumper.
So we're getting to the stage now, aren't we, where we're looking for suggestions for what we're going to do for Series 2. So get involved with us on social media. I'm sure you can find us by using your initiative. Or email us at saddopodcast@gmail.com. And also, if you follow us on social media, you will find links to where you can watch this episode of The Good Life, Away From It All, for free on Dailymotion. And then you can come and listen to us talk about it. So if you haven't done that yet, pause, go away, watch, come back, resume.
Yay! We are a watch along, or rather a listen along podcast. So you watch it and then you dip into the appropriate episode and listen to us pull it apart. We pull apart the episodes, chat about the story, the actors, what they're wearing. It's all in there, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But of course, if you're so familiar with The Good Life that you don't even need a recap, there's no gun to your head. One of the great things about being an adult is you get to choose. I don't know where I'm going with this.
Just listen along. Just listen along and enjoy the ride. That's what you can do, can't you?
Yeah. Before we get stuck into this episode, Away From It All, I happened to come across a clip of the start of a Penelope Keith sitcom from the 1990s this week, which is called Next of Kin. It's quite a good high rating on IMDb, 8.0, 8.1 or something, so it
really?
must be decent. Never seen it myself. It ran for 3 series, apparently. But the thing that grabbed me about it was how awful the opening sequence was. The theme tune and the opening sequence.
It was very creepy. And not very sort of sitcom TV-like.
Didn't promise laughs, did it?
No, not at all. Even the premise of the actual show where, I think in the first episode, a couple die and their kids then get shipped off, apparently reluctantly, to the grandparents. The grandparents are, reluctant to take the grandkids on. It just sounds like the opposite of a hoot.
It does. Sounds like Lemony Snicket's or something like that.
Just horrid. Something from Annie.
Yeah. It's best experienced with video because the dancing...
I think it needs to be viewed, yeah. It's just very, very odd.
Yes, this episode won't come out till January, but I've already tweeted it. We're filming in November. Filming? We're recording in November. But yeah, this episode will come out in January, so I'll retweet it then. But just have a listen to how weird this theme tune and opening is to Next of Kin.
T for two and 2 for tea.
Me for you and you for me. Can't you see how happy we would be?
You could raise a family, a boy like us, a girl like me.
Can't you see how happy we would be?
Yeah, not great, eh? So it got us thinking about other theme tunes and sort of sitcom openings that were not marvellous. Let's be honest, there are a few out there that are just a bit, how to be kind, but also honest. Just not great at all.
The one that sticks in my mind was the Amanda Holden one.
Mad About Alice?
Yeah, which she's got quite a pleasant voice.
You think?
I do. What I don't like is the spoken lyrics. It just makes me feel very, very uncomfortable.
I remember a time when we didn't bow.
What, before we met?
Well, we're not together now.
I can't believe the chaos that surrounds you.
Well, what would you know?
Oh, just look around you. It's mad about Alice.
Please don't remind me.
Mad about Alice.
All right, don't go on about it.
But we know despite the things we say, we wouldn't have it any other way.
Except maybe today.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's all that. Before we met.
Oh no, don't. It's
all that stuff.
It's a really, I don't know, really strained and a bit hard work. But I do think she's got quite a nice voice.
Do you? I think she's fucking awful. Do you know?
All right.
Joe Lycett in his stand-up refers to her, and then he just says, "I think she's despicable."
See, and he must know. They're on the same circuit, aren't they? So I can imagine that they have plenty of run-ins.
Yeah. I do think she's just fame whore sort
She's
of thing.
very hungry, isn't she? She was on Blind Date years ago.
Then she married Les Dawson.
She didn't marry Les Dawson. She married Les Dennis.
I did it deliberately that time.
I wish she'd married Les Dawson, though.
Who's your favourite Les? Martina Navratilova. As the old Shooting Stars joke went. Yes, so it's not a great one, that. Theakston's all right. I mean, and the actual show is just as bad as the theme tune, to be honest. But Jamie Theakston's not bad.
I've got no recollection. I've no recollection of the show. Was it a bit like Not Going Out? It feels a bit like Not Going Out.
No, not really. They were divorced.
Was it
but
not?
Then,
No.
No, because Not Going Out has sort of comedy and humour in it, and this one's just fucking dreadful. But other ones that come to mind, obviously Birds of a Feather was a very, very successful sitcom, but the theme tune didn't scream laugh a minute, did it, with those two walking in pools of light. And
very serious.
And even the song itself is downbeat and miserable, isn't it?
Doesn't really suit the show, does it, at all?
No. And then in later series, they re-recorded that song so that Linda Robson and Pauline Quirk sang it. And again, they're not singers.
Oh, God, yeah. They didn't sing it at the start, did they? It was a
like
male singer.
Yeah.
It was a crooner, and then they sang it. Yeah.
What'll I do when you are far away and I am blue? What'll I do?
The best example of its ilk that I found, however, I think was from America.
Of course.
Which was called My Mother the Car from the 1960s.
It's such a tune, though.
Everybody knows in the second life we all come back sooner or later. As anything from a pussy cat to a man-eating alligator. Well, you all may think my story is more fiction than it's fact. But believe it or not, my mother did decided she'd come back as a car. She's a very own guiding star. A 1928 Porsche, that's my mother dear. She helps me through everything I do, and I'm so glad she's here. My mother the car. My mother the car.
Yeah, and the theme tune had the bouncing ball on the words that you could join in at home.
It's a strange premise that this guy's mum has died, but he's not bothered because she's come back as a car.
She talks to him through the radio.
I thought this was made up because my first experience of this TV show was via Arrested Development, and there's mention of it there in one of the episodes, and I thought it was just an Arrested Development made-up thing. I didn't realise it was actually a TV show that Americans watched.
There's also satirised by The Simpsons, because there was a episode where Abe Simpson was having a relationship with his car in a similar way. Reincarnation of his mother or his wife, I can't remember.
Right. Yeah.
But it's well out there. I mean, there must have been some crazy 60s skunk smoked in the writer's room for that one.
Yeah. It's a bit mind-bending, isn't it? It really is.
Any others that you want to sort of flag up? I thought Yes, My Dear from the 70s looked awful.
Don't tell her no, just tell her yes, my dear. And you'll be cosy as 2 bugs in a rug. 2 birds on a tree. Just take it from me, son. The secret of true harmony is yes, my dear. Don't tell her no, just tell her yes. Oh, yes, my dear.
Yes, my dear. Did you see that one?
Was that the one with Frank Butcher in?
Yeah.
Oh. And the Chaz and Dave Bottle Boys one. Was it Chaz and Dave or was it just sound-alikes?
I'd assume it was Chaz and Dave.
Bottle boys, up with the lot. Who cares if it's raining? Who cares if it's dark? There's a whole lot of bottle boys taking a pride in making sure each customer is satisfied. Milk, eggs and butter, got them all on the float. Anything you're short of, darling, leave us a note. Oh, you'll be glad you wrote it when you hear the noise of the rattle of the bottles of the bottle boys.
It was like pretty much on the nose if it wasn't them.
Yeah.
But anything with Robin Asquith in just makes me feel dirty.
Does it?
And not in a good way.
Everything with Robin Asquith in was the same, except he had a different job.
Yeah.
Confessions of a window cleaner, Bottle Boys is just Confessions of a milkman.
It is, isn't it?
If he was still making shows now, it'd be Confessions of a...
IT consultant.
Yeah, of a cold caller, of a telesales marketer.
Track and tracer.
Yeah.
Leering through your window while you lay on the couch.
Yeah, it wouldn't be very dirty, would it, if they were socially distant?
No, you'd have to be stood 2 metres away.
Just wanking at each other.
Oh, dirty. He's just a pest. Well, I think we should probably leave those theme tunes right there. And just appreciate the fact that we have got a podcast where we're chatting about a TV show with a wonderful, wonderful theme tune, which we do love.
We do. I don't know if you noticed, though, that for this episode, Away From It All wasn't even centred in that badly drawn circle. It was all the way over to the right.
Skew whiff.
Yeah. The graphics department certainly didn't get the budget. Penelope Keith got all the budget for her clothes.
So shall we take a deep dive into Series 4, Episode 1, Away From It All?
Let's do it.
Good life, good life, good life, good life, good life, good life, good life.
So once again, we are back in Tom and Barbara's kitchen, while Barbara is planting buckets of mushrooms to put in the cellar to obviously to grow them for food. Quite ingenious. I think I've tried doing that before now, trying to grow mushrooms in a cardboard box or something, and it never worked. So whether it works for Barbara or not, it didn't work for me, unfortunately. Tom's back from the allotment with a bit of bad news. The veg that they've been growing down there just seems to not be growing to size, unfortunately. So there's all sorts of mini veg pulling out all sorts of...
Yeah, he's got like a little chode of a carrot, hasn't he?
Oh, it's teeny tiny.
Little wee testicle of a potato.
It's teeny tiny. The leeks look like spring onions. And I found this quite interesting because I think Barbara says... But what about the leeks? We've always been lucky with leeks. Now, that's not true. Because considering they had a whole episode devoted to the fact that they'd had the leeks stolen, I wouldn't say that they've been lucky with leeks, really.
She must just mean that they've been lucky in terms of the yield,
size and yield.
Rather than extraneous factors like Harry the leek thief coming along and pinching them.
I know.
Did you notice as well, though, that the cabbage, she says, are you sure it's not just a big Brussels sprout?
Yes.
That's amused me. But it also reminded me of that line in, weirdly, it reminded me of a line in The Royal Family where Denise waters break upstairs and Jim goes up to comfort her and he says, are you sure it wasn't just a great big piss? Quite a different scenario, but somehow it just reminded me of that line. Did you notice the Peapod Burgundy was back to looking like plutonium again?
It was. They must have. Is it different vintages of this stuff? I don't know. I don't know how it works when you make your own wine, but it's different every time, isn't it?
I think if this was real life, they'd be dead by 50. Taking that every bloody night.
Oh, the sediment that must be in it must be like blow your head off.
Mind you, fermented foods are supposed to be good for you, aren't they?
What's it called? That fermented cabbage.
Oh, sauerkraut.
Kimchi. Oh, yeah, that's supposed to be good for you. What's kimchi?
Are you thinking of kombucha, the drink?
I am thinking of that, yes. Is that nothing to do with cabbages?
No, it's fermented tea, I think.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Another one that Joe Simmons, who we interviewed earlier on in this room.
Does he swear by it?
He swears by kombucha, yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, that's maybe where I'm going wrong.
Yeah. Get it up the Waitrose. Give it a try.
So next we're in Margo and Jerry's dining room, and Tom and Barbara are around having dinner, and it's all very awkward right from the get-go, isn't it? It's all very quiet and chit-chatty, but there doesn't seem to be any depth to the evening, really.
There's very little small talk going on. Oh. I mean, it's just sort of silence, isn't it? It's almost reminiscent of the Hall gin, where they didn't have anything to talk about. It made me wonder whether, this is my active imagination, I thought a couple of episodes ago, did they actually swing? And now it's really awkward when they sit down. Yeah. So, and they're all trying to think about the fact that they didn't just all pork each other about 2 weeks ago.
You two are very quiet.
Oh, are we? Sorry.
Yes, now come along. We have such a rich language. Let's use it.
All right, then.
I finished.
I finished as well.
Oh, yes. Have you finished, Jerry?
Yes, thanks, darling.
And I finished, too.
It's a rich language, isn't it?
Jerry mentions that there's a new shop in the high street with agricultural implements that are not for sale but for hire, which you'd think that would be an in with Tom and Barbara and that they'd be all over that. But they're just not interested at all. They're just not engaging whatsoever.
And terrible Tom and dinner Barbara, guests, aren't they? Terrible dinner guests. They are.
They start squabbling and bickering. And even Jerry says, he spots that there's something wrong and he says, you don't bicker, we bicker. Meaning him and Margo. Now, this has happened every sort of couple of episodes where it's pointed out that Jerry and Margo have the odd falling out, have the odd ding dong. And Margo must be very much aware of this, but she never seems to want it pointed out that they argue. And I'm not sure why that is, because it's quite obvious that they bicker.
Yeah.
And Margo's not the greatest diplomat, is she? But she's as a friend. She's fab. She straight away says, "Is it money?
Checkbook.
It is, isn't it?
Checkbook, Jerry.
Checkbook, Jerry." And she's there to offer what she can in order to help. She's not always the most practical or diplomatic, like I said. But
no.
if it's something that she can help with, she's there, isn't she? She's always there.
She's predictable in that way. She's tactless.
Yeah.
She's generous, and if she can find a way to blame it on the Labour government. And James Callaghan, then she will. Yeah,
which she did. She blames it straight away on James Callaghan. But Jerry comes up with a pretty good idea of what they can do. And there's the chance of a trip away in a penthouse flat in Mayfair that one of Jerry's friends has got. He's offered it to Jerry and Margo and to their friends to take up whenever they feel like it, which is lovely. How nice is that?
It is lovely, but at first Margo didn't seem to know anything about it, and I thought, is this Jerry's bit on the side, Mayfair?
Is it his shag pad? Is it his crash pad that he goes and uses?
Well, he certainly seems to know all about the black silk sheets, doesn't he?
I wonder. Is that where he takes his lady friends?
Yeah, could be. But
I couldn't think of a nice word to say then to describe
his hooers.
His slags.
You can't say that.
Can't say that. Oh dear.
Have you ever seen that bit of Cat Slater in EastEnders? Have I talked to you about this before?
No.
There's a famous scene where she goes, I didn't become a little bit of a slag. I became a total slag. There's a guy on Instagram, who just does wonderful art. I'd shout him out if I could remember his name. Greg Celeb Arts, maybe? And he does these wonderful, pop culture T-shirts and mugs and stuff.
Oh, with things like that on? With
Total slag.
Excellent. Oh.
Didn't become a little bit of a slag. I became a total slag.
So Jerry suggests that the goods don't want to get back to nature. They want to get away from it and go and use all the mod cons, easy living, push buttons of this pad in Mayfair. And Tom's already thinking about all the self-indulgence and decadence that he can get his hands on. And Jerry does point out that there's black silk sheets on the bed, which, like you say, he did seem to know quite a bit about. But Tom and Barbara are reluctant to go because of the animals. They don't want to leave the animals behind.
Yes.
There's a lot of work involved in maintaining that kind of life, and it would be difficult to just shut up shop and disappear for a couple of days.
But Margot's got the solution.
She's got the solution.
She invokes Dunkirk.
Again?
Yeah, all this war stuff. I think it must be an Esmond Larby obsession. She's must be a thing with the writers. She uses a very contrived metaphor to say that they're going to sail in and save the goods from their hardship.
There's always a lot of war invoking, isn't there? Tom makes a joke about scraping the barnacles off her bottom, and she doesn't get it. She has the old starchy face on and doesn't really understand what's going on. Bless her.
Well, thank you very much, Jerry.
Tom and Barbara decide that it possibly will be a nice idea to go and have this break, and they do loads of crib sheets for Margo and Jerry in order to ensure that all the jobs get done, that the animals get tended to, and it's a colour-coded sheet, and Tom sat Jerry down and he's pointing out everything that he needs to do, and Margo and Jerry seem quite chilled about it. They seem like they'll have it all in hand. But Tom and Barbara are like hysterical before they've even set off.
Yeah. And then Tom's got this graphic demonstration. He starts talking to Jerry like he's a toddler, doesn't he? He comes in doing this weird affected voice. He says, Jerry, good man. Almost a bit like Sir. Jerry, good man. Yes. And then he starts talking down to him like he's like a 2-year-old.
Now we come to chickens, represented by...
the yellow line.
And Jerry says, you're not handing over the Serengeti Game Reserve. I'm not a child, you know. So he'd obviously sort of realised what Tom was doing, and Jerry's even given him the keys to the car, his car, to drive to London in as well. So they've literally made this all possible. And I don't know, I just felt a bit, I know that they'd be worried about leaving the animals behind, but it was almost like a bit disrespectful, I felt, that they just didn't seem to be being grateful for it.
Yeah, they're totally ingrates. Barbara's getting as bad as Tom as it goes along.
Yeah, it does get worse and worse, doesn't it?
But of course, Jerry loses his shit with them. I'm good on him. He basically just fucking marches. He almost like picks them up by the scruff of the necks, marches them out of the house.
I think he does with Barbara. Does he not throw Barbara out the door?
More or less. He's like, there's the car, bags in the back, keys in the ignition, now fuck off.
Yeah.
Or words to that effect.
So off they go. They come back and then they disappear off again. They get sent off again. And then Barbara and Tom are in this Mayfair flat, which is riddled with 70s.
Yeah.
It's like double, like multiple levels. There's a leather suite, a G-plan chair, there's lamps, glass top tables, which were notorious in the 70s. And they were watching TV, they were watching Kojak, and they'd never seen Kojak before, because obviously they've got rid of their TV. They don't watch telly anymore. But they're watching Kojak, and I smiled, actually, because I think Barbara says, the postman kept saying, who loves you, baby? And I always wondered what he was talking about. And And it must have been something that people did around that time, because my granddad did that. My granddad used to say, "Who loves you, baby?" And as a kid, I never had a clue what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I understand where Barbara was coming from, but it was obviously such an iconic TV show and such an iconic...
Part of culture.
Yeah. What is it? Is it, such an iconic catchphrase?
Yes. And of course, the postie probably liked it because it wasn't produced by Rod Steiger.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the same one. Oh, dear me.
They're all flollopy, as Barbara puts it.
Flollopy. What a good word. Flollopy.
One of the things I like in this scene is that how old school they describe some of the things, like they describe the telephone as a receiver, and they describe the TV as the television. It's been ages since we had a television set. The television set. I'm going to start doing that in front of the kids now. I'm going to put a movie on the television set.
Yes.
Do you mean the fucking 62-inch big plasma?
Television set. And it was a big round, sort of space age looking. It's what the 70s expected the future to look like.
Yeah. It's like a George Jetson round TV, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. And I love that about the 70s, that they still sort of thought that that's what the future was going to look like. Very cute. But yeah, the phone rings, they answer it, it's Margo, and all hell breaks loose. They're both screaming and shouting and panicking. Margo can't sort of get a word in. She tells them to calm down. It turns out that there is a problem with the generator. And they ask Margo if she can make the noise of the generator in order so that they can sort of decipher what the problem is over the phone. And she starts trying to make the noise. And it's a wee clunk noise.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very cute.
And she says about she's taken the keys off Jerry.
From round his neck.
Yeah, because they were starting to sort of jangle and annoy her. And I think that's also something that men of that era used to do. They used to love to wear their keys about them in a sort of self-important, ostentatious display of keys.
Yeah.
Either round the neck or jangling from their jeans.
Like a jailer.
Yeah, or like a janitor, really. But
yeah.
I know my father-in-law, Ali, said that he used to wander around with all these keys that he didn't even need. He just liked to collect keys and wander around.
Just collect keys.
With a bunch of keys. Just random keys. Which is a bit sad, really, isn't it?
There was a lot of keys on that chain around his neck as well. Like, and you think, how many doors do the goods have in order to lock? It looked like it was just a big bunch of nonsense.
Yeah. They admit afterwards that they had a bit of a flap. Once the generator crisis is sorted, they realise they flapped a bit and sort of panic over. They go off and have some nookie, don't they? They
do. And even Margo said that I think Tom says panic over, and Margo says very, very calm. And I love calm Margo. She just says, I never panicked. And I thought that's very true. She was very, very calm in the situation.
Don't panic, Margo!
I'm not panicking. I'm awaiting instruction.
So in the morning, they get up and the telly's on, because obviously they don't have this at home. The television set is there, and Tom's gawping away at it, eating breakfast. And I tell you what, Barbara's breakfast, I think it was only like toast and jam or toast and marmalade. It looked delicious. It made me want a piece of toast, which I don't have very often.
You know.
But I thought, oh God, I could murder a piece of toast. But then concern sets in because the phone hasn't rung now. They're panicking that the Ledbetters are withholding information and not actually telling them what's going on.
They just work themselves into a frenzy. There's nothing, it's apropos of nothing, but they just panic and sort of wind each other up into a complete state, don't they?
Yeah, the goats had a cough, and now they're panicking that if she starts again, they're not going to know, that the Ledbetters are not going to know that Geraldine's got a cough, and then they're just going to watch Geraldine die, and then it's gone from the phone not ringing to a dead goat. And they're both just hysterical.
Yeah.
So, but back at the Good's house, Jerry's polishing Geraldine's horns, which I thought was very lovely of him, but only because Margo had insisted on it.
Margo, I don't honestly think that goat wants its horns polishing.
Because she wanted to... They've coped with what they had to do, but Margo was hoping that they've also improved on the life that the Goods have been working on for the past few years. So in one day, Margo sees that she's improved on what they've already set out to do.
She's wanting to make a point with them, isn't she? She's wanting to show her competence and
yes,
show them that it's not such a rigmarole as they make it out to be.
Yeah. Because 1 day and 3 years is, it's the same, isn't it?
Yeah. But she compares it to managing Lefty Sopranos and a stage manager with a steel plate in his head. Which is not really the same thing, is it, as managing goats and chickens and pigs?
The goods have come flying back from London, though. They've come back from Mayfair because they couldn't stand it anymore. They're just picturing dead Geraldine. The car screeches to a halt, and in they come. And to ask, why have you not called us? But like Margo says, that we had no reason to.
The devil's that?
Thugs from the council estate, probably.
All right, what's happened?
What are you doing here?
You didn't answer the phone. That's what we're doing here. Didn't you hear it ringing?
Yes, we did, as it
Well,
happens.
then why didn't you answer it? Too lazy to get off your bottom and walk across the room?
We weren't in the room, as it happens. We were in your garden, looking after your menagerie, as promised.
All right, then. Why didn't you phone us?
There was nothing to fear about.
You expect me to believe that?
But then Tom and Barbara start to blame each other for coming back because the other one couldn't cope. And Margo suggests that they look at the floor because it's been cleaned. And the goods are absolutely amazed that the floor is the colour that it is. They always assumed that it was a different colour. The range has been black-leaded and polished. But then it turns out that Margo and Jerry have got Mr. and Mrs. Pearson, the cleaner and the gardener, in to do all the work for them.
Yeah.
Which is ingenious. Margo even shows off 2 buckets that she's had cleaned that you could see your face in. These 2 beautiful, shiny buckets. But from further questioning, she found them in the cellar, obviously full of soil and mud. And it turns out that Margo has thrown Barbara's mushrooms away. She's cleaned the buckets, but the mushrooms are gone.
Yes.
To which Margo answers, well, tell you what, polish your own goat's horns then. And I agree with that, Margo. I agree with Margo's sentiment. Polish your own goat's horns.
Well, because they're so ungrateful throughout the entire thing, and then when they realise she's made one mistake, they're very, very smug about it and sort of laughing at her. And I just think,
yeah,
just fucking hell, you don't know how lucky you are to have these friends who do all this for you.
No. Even if they have got Mr. and Mrs. Pearson to do it all, it's still done, isn't it? It's still... They've kept up with the day's work that they had to do. They've sent the friends to stay in a Mayfair penthouse apartment with silk sheets and give them the car to get there.
Yeah.
What good mates.
They do everything for them, and they get, they get some thanks, but they might get the words thanks, but they're not treated with the respect that they deserve for everything they do for them. Yeah.
I think this episode highlighted that quite strongly, really.
So there's so much to talk about when it comes to fashion in this episode. Not all of it great, eh?
No.
Oh, this will be a long fashion corner, I suspect. So let's have a trip over there.
Fashion corner, fashion corner. Fashion corner, fashion corner.
So Fashion Corner this week doesn't start off very promising, to be honest. The scene where they are all having dinner round at the Ledbetters was very uninspiring, to be honest. Margo had like a tablecloth that had been sort of fashioned into a dress. Just not very Margo-esque at all, not very striking. Tom, at dinner, it's the blue threadbare jumper, the powder blue jumper, that seems to make an appearance of its own accord in episodes. Jerry is just suited up for dinner, and Barbara is in like a brown spotty dress, quite a petite looking, not childlike, but like a little girl's dress, I suppose, is the other way that I can describe it. It's not something I've seen before. I've not seen her wearing that. Very uninspiring, to be honest. However, I wanted to mention Jerry, when he goes round to Tom and Barbara's to find out what he needs to do with the animals.
Oh, he's got a new coat, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, he's got I wanted to mention the rust-coloured jumper with like a biscuit-coloured collar trim.
Yeah.
Which we've never seen before. And a brown sheepskin jacket he had on.
Yeah.
It was almost black, which is a new piece of clothing that we've not seen before on Jerry. But he's always looking very dapper, isn't he? It's rare that we don't see Jerry looking
Yeah, sheepskin coat.
Amazing.
Sheepskin coat makes you think of like John Motson in the gantry doing the commentary.
It does.
Do you think he's graduated from the Stamford Bridge terraces to the commentary box now?
No, I think the leather jacket's probably just at the dry cleaners.
Probably, yeah. Plus, if he's just come off the terraces, his he won't be delivering a commentary and receive pronunciation as was appropriate for the time. Oi, oi! Chopper Harris has got a fucking bone. Do you think he ever gets home and forgets? Do you think he ever forgets to seek back into his proper voice? Like, I used to go to the football, watch Everton, and come home and Ali would be saying, "Why are you talking in a Scouse accent?" And I was like, I wasn't aware I was. But he probably comes home, "All right, you soppy Doris," and he's like, totally forgets where he is. Jerry!
And she smacks him. I've got a sheepskin coat that my mum handed down to me that I never wear.
Yeah.
It's just in the wardrobe, but it's very reminiscent of the one that Jerry had on. For looking after the chickens and the goats and the other animals for 3 days, Margo has invested in a whole new wardrobe, which we do get to see, and it is wonderful. She's in waterproof jackets and trousers. With wellies, and these are they've got a cream trim. It's like browny green with a cream trim. She's also got this hat balaclava combo on that's in a moss green colour. Now, moss green to me, it's not a go-to colour. It's not a go-to feminine colour, perhaps.
No.
Whether that's sexist to say or not, I don't know. But it's not your go-to colour really. But Penelope Keith / Margo pulls off this colour amazingly well for a complexion. She just shines in this outfit. And Jerry does question her as to why she's found all the need to get all these new clothes and how much have they cost. And she says, 70 something, which even then would have been an absolute pile of cash, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
For an outfit that would last for 3 days. But then she's going to pass it on to the needy afterwards. So there's always that, which is wonderful.
She might as well just give it to Barbara then.
Just pass it on to Barbara, exactly. Just pass it on to next
Slightly
door.
different shapes and sizes.
Yeah, she'd have to cut the legs off, wouldn't she?
Yeah. Cut and shut.
Cut and shut pants. Margo. Now this is where I was heading to. Margo on the telephone at home in an azure. Now I had to look up. I got the colour charts out and looked at what exact shade this blue was.
Can you say that word again?
Azure.
Azure. Does it have to be sort of elongated like that?
Yes, you can only say it like that. You can't say it any other way. It was a slip sleeved, nearly, full length muumuu dress is how I would describe it, with a headscarf in matching fabric, and it reminded me. It was reminiscent, and anyone that's seen these will know exactly what I mean. The Sarah Moon pictures of the 1970s. I think there's one called Lady in a Dress, and it's the headscarf look that made me remember that and think that Margo looked quite similar. But again, is there anything that Penelope Keith puts on that she doesn't suit? I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything that she's worn so far, really. Even the sou'wester when she falls is just amazing looking.
I think she looked a little bit, it's a bit controversial, but she looked a little bit, she invoked images of nuns and convents to me.
Oh, right. Do you think?
Yeah. I mean, nuns don't tend to dress in azure.
Azure muumuus? No.
But she was a little bit nunny.
A bit nunny?
Yeah, a bit nunny, I thought.
Yeah. She looked very stylish. A real nice combo of an outfit. I don't know, what was she doing around then? Was she going out anywhere, or was she just rocking it in the house?
She must have been. She was just, it was like a telephone outfit.
Telephone outfit,
to wear in the hall.
It's to being on the phone.
She probably gets dressed up in that when she's ready for a conflict with Mrs. Dooms Patterson or Miss Mountcraft.
I think so.
It's like a power dress, you know?
Already, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think it would. I think one of the final things that I have to mention in Fashion Corner this week is the pinny that Margo has on when the goods come back from Mayfair, and it's a golly on the pinny, like a Robertson's jam golly. And I've not used the original language because language matters, and it might be a bit woke, but that's tough. So it's just a sort of stark reminder, really, that was a thing in the 70s, that we had those still. And
wore them proudly on pinnies.
Yeah. It's just something... I know people have different opinions about things like this, but for me, it was... I still find that quite eye-opening. As to how it makes my head think about characters, I suppose.
She should have worn Jerry's titty apron instead.
She should. It would be less offensive.
Yeah, would, ironically enough. Talking of titties, Barbara's bullet nips were back at the end when she had a blue sweater on.
I didn't notice.
No, you see, I can't help but notice these things. We've stopped with the tab and the soft porn tab. And
do we need a tit tab now?
Tit tab, pokey nips tab, yeah. Yep, Barbara was literally poking out eyes with those nips at the end of this one.
Was she?
Yeah.
Barbara. What was she doing? Was she pouring anything down her, or were they just there?
She just, when she rushed in, stressed about the goat, when they'd just come back from the penthouse. She just had like a blue top on, but clearly no bra, or a very thin bra.
Maybe that's the issue, just no bra.
Could be, yeah. Like I say, she's like the Jennifer Aniston of her day.
Yeah. Maybe she just threw her clothes on to come back and check on Coffee and Geraldine. So yeah, that's wrapping up Fashion Corner.
Hells bells.
Good life, good life, good life, good life, good life, good life, good life.
Did you have an MVP this week?
I did. Yes, I did. My MVP this week, I had it down to 2, but then it's Jerry. It's Jerry this week. I think again, did I have Jerry last week?
Yeah, we both had Jerry last week, yeah.
Jerry this week, because the want to step in and help the Goods, not only by lending them a friend's penthouse apartment, giving him the keys to the car so that they can get there, but then to step in and, after working all week, to look after the animals that are at the Goods house. What a good egg.
And also, when they... we get a T-shirt of Jerry on just saying, what a good egg.
He's a good egg.
When they turn up acting unreasonable at the end, screeching, burning rubber off his tyres, he's totally calm about it.
Yeah.
He wasn't calm earlier where he threw them out the house, and I really enjoyed that. There's a couple of times in recent episodes where he's just lost his shit with the Goods because of their unreasonable behaviour. And I was like, it's quite good to see. But he's almost like... I've given him my MVP as well, but I almost didn't, because I almost feel like he's being a doormat and being used by them. And he's almost like in a... See, again, some people who say we're too woke won't like this, but I feel like he's codependent with them a little bit. Or the Ledbetters are being used by the Goods too much at this stage. But yes, he's just such a nice fella, and I just enjoy Paul Eddington's snarky little remarks as well.
He is wonderful. I was almost giving it to Margo.
Yeah.
Just because of the enthusiasm, even down to going out buying new outfits in order to help out. She was that sort of enthusiastic about it. But I think Jerry just inched ahead a little bit.
And if I remember back to last week, where we both gave Jerry MVP, this now puts him within 1 point of the leader, Margo.
So it could all change.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Jerry to potentially be leader when he's not leader, but he's getting there. He's in a fine run of form, let's say that.
In my head, if I'm honest, he would have been 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
Good old Jerry.
Yes, yeah. We love Jerry. So if you're enjoying watching and listening along to all these old episodes of The Good Life, and to us picking them apart and having fun with them, get involved, send us a tweet or follow us on Instagram, at SADDO Podcast. We post a lot of rare videos and images from the show and from other things that the cast did when they weren't on The Good Life. Find us on Facebook, just search SADDO Podcast and you'll get much of the same guff. You can subscribe to our newsletter by visiting saddo.club. We've got more and more blog posts coming up on that website all the time. So as well as listening to us talk about The Good Life, you can also read our articles, which we've written about the show as well. Send us an email at saddopodcast@gmail.com if you want to tell us about the things we missed. And please do subscribe and leave us a review wherever you get your podcast, because we're getting quite a few listeners at this stage, but probably not many reviews. So it'd be nice to get a few in there just to show that people are enjoying it. If you're enjoying it. If you're not enjoying it, don't leave us a review. Just, other podcasts are available.
Yep, just do something else. So, next week's episode is Series 4, Episode 2. Do you know which one that is, Ben?
The Green Door.
Ooh.
It's a mystery green door.
Is Shaken Stevens in it?
Yeah. Yeah, pissed. Remember when he was on top of the pops, pissed?
Was he doing the wobbly leg dance?
Well, yeah, but he wasn't even trying.
Was he not?
That's the point. Wobbling. He was just wobbling naturally. He was always pissed on top of the pops. Yes, the green door relates to a mystery green door, which the good see Margo going into, and then Lacey coming out.
I remember this one. Yes.
So it's your imagination runs riot, doesn't it? Or what she's up to in the green door.
Yes. There's lots of outdoor on-location scenes in this episode as well, which I like.
We might see some 70s sandwiches for 9p.
Oh, stacks of sandwiches. Sausages.
So join us for that one next week. Series 4, Episode 2, The Green Door. And thanks for listening.
Thanks a lot, guys.
I'll see thee.
See you next time.
My mother the car. My mother the car.
Total slag.